Hi, my name is Rudy Richardson, and I'm bipolar. And I wanted to make this video, first of all, because I believe more people that have this diagnosis um, need need to tell their story, and I would like to tell mine. And I just want to congratulate all the people, you know, that have put themselves out there, that are bipolar, and that have made videos. I applaud your courage, and you know, bipolar is not the end of the world, at least not for me. It certainly changed my life. It's made me more open, closer to God, to the universe. It's, you know, profoundly changed my life. Now here I am today. I'm 58 years old. I'm drug free, and I'm free from psych meds as well. And so where I'm at right now, I'm neither manic nor depressive. I guess you can say I'm on the landing field. And my last manic episode, which was a mild one, lasted for about 6 weeks. And so that's where I am. Now, I've heard a lot about bipolar, its misgivings, the labels, and for myself, it took me a while to, quote, embrace it. Um, and I think there's a difference between embracing something and accepting it. I did go through those stages of denial because my mania or hypomania, whatever they call it, my experiences were on the spiritual side. You know, I never heard voices. You know, I didn't, see anything. But as I'll explain in the video, I'll explain more about that. But I'd like to give you a background of my life, and which I believe may be some of the causes of being bipolar. Now, I don't believe, I was born with it. I don't know. I don't think I was. But anyway, I was born in Germany. My mother was a prostitute. I was born in prison, and I was immediately taken from her and placed in a children's home. So, I guess right then and there, there was a hole in my soul, obviously, because there wasn't that maternal bonding going on at all. And today I still have that hole, and I try to fill it with my creativity, but it's still there, I'm not going to lie. Now, I've read a lot about bipolar, and they talk about, a lot of people that have bipolar have had trauma, and that is true in my case. I was physically, might as well say tortured and molested in this children's home in Germany. Being mixed race didn't help, but I wasn't the only one, that was molested and that was physically abused. These memories didn't surface until about 30 or 40 years later. And when they came, I thought I was losing my mind. And so I guess what I'm saying, I believe my bipolar condition can or may be a result of this trauma. Thankfully, I was adopted by American parents. Unfortunately, my mom that adopted me, for whatever reason, really wasn't capable, of being a full mom, simply because she was an addict, and so I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. Not pointing fingers. That's just that was reality. My home life was chaos, really unpredictable, and there were good times, there were bad times, but I can remember being a very sensitive child. Now, I want to talk about a sleep disorder because I think that was associated with my trauma. Um, I can remember having this sleep disorder even at 4 or 5 years old, and I still have it today. And what it is a feeling of suffocation that comes. I think that I'm falling asleep, or I'm paralyzed, or I'm in a hypnagogic state, or whatever. But it renders me powerless. I think that I'm dying. Somebody's taking my air. Um, you know, there are times where I see the shadowy figure come. It's gagging me and molesting me, and these reoccurring episodes, still happen today. They're not quite as acute, but I can't seem to get rid of them. I've tried mantras, this and that, everything, therapy, blah, blah, blah. It's still there, but, and when I have them, I tell my wife, she knows what to do, because, I usually, I'm saying help, or Jesus or something, and, she wakes me up out of it. Now, when I was a teenager, 16 years old, I started using drugs. This was in the 70s, so you can imagine. I hit the ground running. Drugs was like nirvana for me. It took me out of the shame, out of the fear, out of what was going on in my life. I was confused. I wasn't sexually confused at the time. I thought that I was fully heterosexual until the first memory came, which was in the Army, and that was like about 7 years later. Anyway, I'm a full-blown drug addict, and I go into the Army, and I have my first experience. Now, I don't believe this was a manic experience. I believe that, it was one of the memories that were coming out. I can remember I was in Berlin at the time, and I was sleeping on this bed. Not sleeping, I was lying on this bed. And all of a sudden, I seen this nurse in a nunnery type of garb, or whatever she was wearing, but it looked like, she stepped out the Catholic Church or something. And I can remember her having a pair of scissors. I can remember being frozen on the bed, and I'm just screaming, help, help, help. And I can remember her coming towards my head and taking the scissors and actually cutting the bandages off. There was bandages around my head. Now, scared the shit out of me, right? And around the same time, that's when the memories of the sexual abuse started surfacing. It would come around stressful events. Either somebody had died, or I lost a job, or got in trouble. It was crazy. But I want to fast forward, because I think it's really important to when my mania really started. Now, I believe it started in around 36 years of age. They say it starts around 19, but I believe mine started at around 36. Now, I had a very dysfunctional life, I'm telling you. I was homeless, drug addict, crackhead, prostitute. By now I'm bisexual, confused, I don't know what the fuck I am. But I'm trying to survive any way that I can. And it was around 1980. The mother of my children had left me. I was just completely dysfunctional, crackhead. Like I said, I'm glad that she left. But anyway, I can remember joining this church group, like a cult, let's say that. And you live there, and it was such a dramatic shift. I mean, here I am, my wife has left. I'm homeless for about 3 or 4 days. I see the church as, some lifesaver or oasis, as it were. And I can remember going there, and I think it was about after a week, I just started saying, hey, man, I really, found it. This is it, and I was beginning to feel very, very, quote, spiritual, or very close to God. I mean, I'm talking like, hey, I was at one with God. And I can remember having very vivid dreams about, this kingdom, and it was like floating in the sky. And to me, it was real. I mean, the dream, whatever it was, I was there, and today, I still think I was there. And I'm not manic, but this is the episode that I'm explaining. And, the kingdom, I mean, it was just lit up in a way that I'd never seen nothing like that on earth, that's for sure. And, had all kind of jewels, and it just lit up all by itself. I mean, and from that experience, I woke up the next day in a very, very, I guess, hyper spiritual type of, I just felt like, I guess to give you an analogy, like I was, walking with the Holy Spirit, which was kind of new and profound to me because I've never felt that. And at the same time, I'm not using drugs, at all. Sober as a pin, and all the while I was, in this particular sect or religious organization, I was clean and sober. But, and so day after day, I started, I started getting just really fine-tuned, super spiritual, to the point where I can kind of see the falseness in the church, I guess I transcended to a point where, I could see the bullshit through the trees, and of course, when I confronted these people, I'm the heretic and shit, so I get booted out, and that was my first mania experience. I'd like to add to that, at the same time I had this mania experience, there was a point where I did also have some memories of sexual abuse, so there was an element of fear there. But while being in the mania state, I felt, because God was protecting me, that I could somehow, in a spiritual sense, win the battle over this thing, which in a sense I did, or at least I thought I did. Now, I'd like to fast forward a little bit because, well, yes, I will. Here I am. I get deported, after that experience, I'm back on the streets, they labeled me a heretic, so I'm ashamed, I'm feeling bad, blah, blah, blah. Wind up on the streets, started going in and out of mental hospitals, homeless for 7 years. Now I'm prostituting, and stealing out of stores, for my crack habit, but still holding on to that vision that I had of the kingdom, and that feeling that I had, because I wasn't labeled bipolar, and I didn't know that I was. I thought, and I still believe today, whether they say I'm bipolar or not, that was a spiritual experience, whether they call it spiritual emergency, crisis, who gives a shit, It was one of the foundations that I held on to, even whilst my life was unmanageable because of my drug addiction and all the other things that were going on in my life. So here I get deported from America after 45 years. Now during this time, I would get jobs. and corporate America. I was a secretary, and as soon as I'd get the job and the novelty wore off, it was like Dolesville, and I didn't have the tools of recovery then in regards to my drug and alcohol addiction. So, I immediately went back to my addiction. Wound back up on Skid Row, lived on Skid Row in Los Angeles. I mean, my life was a mess, and I believe that prisons, and I want to thank the Veterans Administration Hospital, I believe that, they saved my life. Now, for those who are watching this and probably saying, well, damn, this dude's a drug addict, hold on, because I've been clean and sober for a long time now, and I can differentiate between manic episodes and my drug addiction. But I just need to tell you my life and how my bipolar experiences have been a positive benefit in my life. Okay, so anyway, so I get deported. I didn't get my citizenship. That is an experience. It broke me down. It's like it broke me down. It broke me down. I did not expect to be deported to a country that I don't even speak the language, and it was a catastrophic experience for me. My daughter's crying, through a plate glass window. I'm on the other side in a red jumpsuit. They're saying they can't take my daddy, and I'm full of tears, and the whole thing was just a mess. So, I remember coming to London in 2003, and no money. I left Germany because I just couldn't do Germany, and I can remember, not having a dime in my pocket. But because of that crisis, I guess, it made me. I had to, even through the armor of my addiction, the crisis pierced that armor, and I think the first thing that came up was fear, saying, I'm in a foreign country, and I will not be able to make it unless I'm clean and sober. And so what I did, I went to, I did what I had to do. I went to NA, got clean and sober, went to therapy in terms of my sexual abuse and trauma. If anybody has carried a lot of pain, and I'm not on the pity pot, I'm not saying that. I'm pretty sure that people that are watching this video maybe had similar experiences, or at least can identify with the pain of rejection, of abandonment, of shame, of sexual confusion, whatever. You're not alone. Now, I bring this up because I want to talk about my next manic episode that I had. It was around my birthday. It was around my 50th birthday. I think I was in London for about 4 months. And I started, feeling that same feeling that I felt, at that other church in California that I was talking about. And all day long, I felt that, God was going to speak to me in a profound way. I just knew it. I didn't know how I knew it. I didn't ask, for this experience or to feel this way, but it came on to me unannounced, unawares. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I liked it. Because for whatever reason, because all the rejection that I've been through in my life, my parents or this, and even hating myself because of my sexuality or this or that, all of that was taken away from me, because this experience allowed me to feel a love in the highest sense that I've ever felt in my life. And I said, I am certainly blessed to be a part of this, because now I know that God loves me no matter what. This is the feeling. Whether they call it mania, bipolar, what, I don't give a fuck, because you know what? I still embrace it today. And, you know, so that night, I try to go to sleep. I can't. About 4 o'clock in the morning, I don't know if I'm asleep or what, but this warm air comes into the room and it just starts blowing all over me, you know. And being in a mania state or hypomania, whatever you want to call it, your sensitivities are heightened to the nth degree. I actually felt the emotion of the air, and the emotion was love. Now, had the air been cold or something like that, I would have shook myself about or got the hell about the room. But because it was warm and it felt like love, I stayed with it, and so it wrapped around my body. I mean, I'm it's like the air, like my hand right now, and I feel the air. That's how I felt it. Okay, it's real. It wasn't no fucking delusion. That was real, and I don't care what they say about bipolar or what the psychologists say. That was real. And all of a sudden, I started floating out of my body. Now, when I started floating, I was scared, so I closed my eyes. I said, "Fuck," I don't know. I just closed my fucking eyes, but I still went with it. I said, "Well, wherever I'm going, it's a better place than where I'm at. You know, the way that I'm feeling and things." And I heard this voice, and I guess it's the first time that I heard something, an audible sound. And so I heard this voice, and it said, "He's got 7 years, anoint him." And all of a sudden I felt this oil beam like slapped over my head. It's like slapped on the left side, just push like that. I was like, damn, it was real thick. And then when I opened my eyes, I was like on an outer court of a kingdom. I'll never forget it. Crowds of people. It was like I was being led in a procession, to be given some type of crown, or I don't know what it was, some sort of recognition. And I seen this lady in the middle of the court, with her arms open. I believe it was my biological mother, and unfortunately she died of alcoholism. And that's another story for another video. Now, and the vision or whatever the hell ended. And I think for about 2 weeks, I was like, I was like in awe. I mean, I was like, That was the second foundation in my life. I want to call it a manic experience, great, bipolar, good, spiritual emergency, wonderful, whatever it was, there was another pillar to my foundation. Because the life that I lived and the pain that I've been through, and also resolved some of it, and my hurt and my pains and things like that, through NA and through psychotherapy and things like that. These experiences to me were the foundation stones, and still are, of my life. And because of that experience, I started an organization called Streetlights. It's an organization that feeds the homeless. We provide a wonderful meal, and we provide clothing and housing. But it was only because of these manic experiences that I had. Now, going through these experiences, I'm a piano player, and I'm also write poetry. And so when I'd have these experiences, my creativity was heightened to a point where, like, wow, I thought I was Mozart, on the piano. I could sing and this and that. And it wasn't no delusion, because even the people around me was like, damn, there would come that crash, but I really wouldn't call it a crash because I just didn't crash, like boom, then I'm depressed and then go down to the pits of hell. It was more like kind of landing on the landing field. Now I did have periods of depression, but when I look at it now, the times that I was depressed after a manic episode was when I would pick up and use recreational drugs. Okay, now that took me completely off the fucking rails, and I even tried that on a manic episode, and it took me off the rails. So I discount those experiences. I only am talking about the ones where I'm clean and sober during the manic phase, coming down, and also, the stormy Monday days. But it was never to the point where I was totally off the rails unless I used psych meds, and I tried a whole plethora of them, or recreational drugs. So, I've been sober for, I was sober for about 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years. I had a bad relapse. The relapse lasted a year. And during that year, my depression, I can't even explain it. I couldn't even get out of the bed. I was paranoid, and the whole thing it was the worst depression I had in my life. And then, I got hospitalized, and they knew I was bipolar, but they was more, because if you're dual diagnosis, they're going to look at you like you're a turd in a punch bowl. If you're an addict and bipolar, they really, at least I felt that, I didn't feel fucking welcome, I can tell you that. So they give me all these different psych meds. It's just dumbed me down, dumbed my talents and creativity and everything, and so I get off the fucking psych meds on my own, which I do not recommend, but I did. And I also got clean and sober again too. I said, fuck that, I got down on my knees, I cried, I begged, I pleaded, I said, God, please help me. I mean, it was one of the lowest points in my life. And, all the courage that I mustered up, or whatever it took, I got clean and sober, I got off that medication. And I think it's about 4 or 5 weeks later, it spiraled into a manic phase. But the manic phase, again, wasn't, it wasn't bad, but, I was, people around me saying, oh, you need to go back on your medication, because I was singing and, gospel music, and, I'm at one with God again, and, I guess, my sister said, you need to get back on. I'm telling her, why don't you get back on the medication? Why don't you take this shit, What I'm trying to say is that now I'm clean and sober, drug-free, I'm off of psych meds, and I'm not manic. And what I'm saying is that my bipolar has been a positive experience for me. I never, harmed anybody or put myself, in any type of harm. I didn't hear voices, to tell me to go kill somebody. I didn't, put on a cape, and say I was Jesus. I might have felt like him. I believe that I identified him to the point where I think there was a time where I actually thought that maybe I was him for a minute. So fucking what? I didn't, act on it and, say, hey, I'm Jesus, you know what I mean? I just kept it to myself because I think at that point I said, well, I'm just keeping this to myself, if it goes any further, I'll check myself into something, but it never went further than that. And even then, I would check myself and, okay, Rudy, you're not Jesus. You're going through this experience. You're at one with God. Embrace it. And that's what I did. And that's what I continue to do. Now, for those that are on medication, I don't know what to tell you. I just know that it doesn't work for me, and I would rather do like alternative therapies, like take the omega, and what I do now is I have a tight-knit group of about 5 friends. So when I go through these experiences, my mania experiences, I don't go through them alone. They know when I go through them. But these are people that I trust and love. And so that helps me. But I don't think medication is the answer. I really don't. I don't think we're crazy. I think that this is a blessing in disguise. That's my take on it. And more will be revealed, and I will do the next video next time. But don't feel bad that you're bipolar. Feel blessed. And those psych medications, they just dumb you down. They dumb your creativity down. And you feel like you're in an envelope or swimming underwater. And what bipolar has done for me, it has made me honest with myself, honest with my sexuality. Bisexual. Now, whether that was because of the trauma, whatever, I can embrace that. I could, I'm not ashamed, because from where my life was at, to being founder of an organization today and actually helping people, this mental illness, or whatever they want to call it, has been a blessing. And my many experiences have been the foundation stones that has brought me to a close relationship with God. It's kind of transcended. I respect our religions, but however, these experiences that I've had, I'm able to transcend that and realize that, all of us, are children of God. There's no quote chosen few, and it just made me appreciate, things on a almost a higher level, but on a different level. And so, like I said, I appreciate, all of the other people that, have told their story, and if this helps anybody, then I hope it does. And cheers from London.